And here is the ultimate transformation. As you cultivate the power to inspire obsession, you also awaken your own. You become more aware of your energy, your boundaries, and your presence in every interaction. You recognize the value of self-possession, the impact of subtle cues, and the power of anticipation. You no longer feel dependent on validation from men, because you know that the right man will be drawn to your energy naturally. You no longer chase attention, approval, or affection. You radiate it, and the right man is irresistibly pulled toward you as a result. This is where mastery and freedom converge. Obsession is no longer a tool. It is a reflection of the power you hold within yourself. He becomes captivated because you are fully yourself, unapologetic and confident, yet emotionally intelligent and attuned. He desires not just your body, but your presence, your energy, and the way you make him feel alive. And in turn, you experience the fulfillment of knowing that your own power and worth are the source of that desire. Not manipulation, not desperation, and not compromise. At the same time, sexual obsession requires responsibility. You must honor the effect you have on him without losing yourself in it. You must maintain your independence, pursue your passions, and never sacrifice your dignity for attention. Obsession is sustainable only when it arises from authenticity, self-confidence, and deliberate presence. A man cannot remain addicted to a woman who does not value herself, just as he cannot sustain desire for someone who gives everything away without boundaries. By maintaining this balance, you ensure that his obsession is rooted in respect, admiration, and genuine desire rather than mere habit, convenience, or superficial attraction. The final truth is empowering. Once you understand how to create sexual obsession, you are never powerless again. You no longer wonder if he will stay interested. You no longer question whether he desires you. You no longer need to chase, beg, or manipulate. Instead, you operate from a place of confidence, presence, and strategic awareness, knowing that his obsession is a natural outcome of your energy, your boundaries, and your impact. He will be drawn to you constantly, craving your attention, your presence, and your touch in ways that feel irresistible, inevitable, and permanent. So if you are ready to step into this power, understand this. It begins with self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and presence. It thrives on mystery, anticipation, and subtlety. It is maintained through balance, boundaries, and confidence. And when done correctly, it becomes an unbreakable cycle, one where he thinks about you, desires you, and is captivated by you continuously without you having to chase him once. He becomes obsessed because he is drawn to your energy, your presence, and your uniqueness, and that obsession transforms both him and your connection into something extraordinary, unforgettable and everlasting. Now that you understand the psychology, the energy, and the subtle principles that create sexual obsession, it's time to step into the most important truth. This power begins with you, not him. You cannot inspire obsession from a place of need, desperation, or insecurity. You can only cultivate it when you are grounded in your own worth, fully aware of your own desires, and unapologetically confident in your presence. A man may be drawn to beauty, charm, or flirtation, but lasting sexual obsession stems from a woman's self-possession, her energy, and the way she makes him feel uniquely alive. Once you realize this, the dynamic of desire shifts completely. He is no longer in control, you are. The first step to mastery is awareness. Pay attention to the signals he gives, but do not depend on them to define your self-worth. Notice the subtle ways he responds to your presence, the glance that lingers, the voice that softens, the energy that shifts when you walk into the room. These are not accidents. They are proof that he is registering your impact on a deep unconscious level. Every time you engage with him intentionally, thoughtfully, and confidently, you reinforce the imprint you are creating in his mind. The key is consistency, not intensity. Small, deliberate actions repeated over time are far more effective than grand gestures that burn out quickly. At the same time, boundaries are crucial. Sexual obsession thrives on contrast, on tension, and on the balance between availability and distance. If you are always there, always accessible, always responding, you remove the mystery and the anticipation that fuels desire. But when you maintain boundaries, when you prioritize your life, your passions, and your needs, you create a magnetic pull that is irresistible. He begins to notice the moments when he doesn't have your attention, to anticipate your presence, and to crave the energy that only you provide. Boundaries are not coldness. They are the stage on which his desire performs. They are the framework that allows obsession to grow naturally, without manipulation or coercion. Emotional resonance is another pillar. Men do not become obsessed purely by physical attraction. They become obsessed by the way you make them feel. Every interaction, every touch, every word that evokes excitement, admiration, and anticipation strengthens the mental and emotional bond. When a man associates you with emotional highs, moments of joy, laughter, intimacy, or playful challenge, he begins to crave not just your body, but your energy. He remembers these moments subconsciously, and over time they become irresistible triggers for desire. The more you compare physical presence with emotional depth, the more unbreakable the obsession becomes. Mystery and unpredictability are essential as well. Human desire is fueled by curiosity and the unknown. A woman who reveals everything about herself too soon, who is fully predictable, or who appears emotionally and sexually available at all times, diminishes her power. But a woman who cultivates subtle mystery, who keeps her passions, her thoughts, and her life slightly beyond his reach, creates a tension that he cannot resist. He begins to wonder, to anticipate, to plan for moments with you in his mind long before they happen. That anticipation alone strengthens his obsession more than anything you could say or do consciously. The next element is confidence and self-possession. A man cannot become obsessed with someone who doubts herself or chases validation. True obsession arises from admiration, respect, and challenge. When you demonstrate that your happiness, fulfillment, and energy are not dependent on his attention, you create a paradoxical pull. He wants what he cannot fully control, what he must pursue, and what challenges him to engage on a deeper level. Independence does not diminish desire, it amplifies it. The more grounded you are in your own life, the more he is drawn into yours. Sexual obsession is further amplified by understanding his unconscious desires, his shadow. Every man carries parts of himself that he hides even from himself. The impulses, fantasies, and vulnerabilities that rarely surface. A woman who can safely awaken these shadows without judgment, while maintaining her own boundaries and energy, becomes unforgettable. She taps into parts of him that no one else can reach, creating a depth of desire that is as psychological as it is physical. When he experiences this, he becomes captivated in a way that is complete and consuming. He seeks your presence, your approval, and your energy, because he associates you with parts of himself he cannot access anywhere else. Physical cues, timing, and environment also play a role. A well-timed touch, a lingering glance, a whisper of attention. These seemingly small actions can create intense emotional and physical responses. Neuroscience proves that anticipation triggers more dopamine than the act itself. By controlling pacing, timing, and context, you create repeated cycles of anticipation and reward that embed you deeply in his mind. He becomes addicted not to you superficially, but to the experience, the energy, and the fulfillment he feels uniquely with you. Ultimately, sexual obsession is not about control. It is about alignment. You align your energy, presence, and boundaries with his natural psychology and desires. You create an environment where his attraction, desire, and obsession arise naturally, without manipulation. He feels drawn to you, captivated by you, and compelled to pursue you because you have become a singular, unforgettable force in his life. Obsession is not something you give him. It is a natural reflection of your power, presence, and the energy you radiate consistently and authentically. The final truth is liberating. Sexual obsession is permanent only when rooted in authenticity and self-possession. It cannot exist if you are desperate, insecure, or chasing. It flourishes when you are confident, independent, and attuned to your energy. A man will become obsessed not because you chase him, but because you are magnetic, mysterious, emotionally resonant, and sexually alive in a way he cannot replicate anywhere else. He thinks about you constantly, desires your touch, craves your attention, and imagines moments with you, all because you have cultivated presence, anticipation, and authentic energy. And here is the most empowering part: the process transforms you as well. As you cultivate this energy, you become more aware of your worth, more confident in your boundaries, and more attuned to your own desires. You no longer measure your value by his attention, nor do you chase validation. Instead, You radiate confidence and authenticity, knowing that a man's obsession is the natural outcome of the power you already hold within yourself. You are the catalyst for desire, the architect of fascination, and the force he cannot resist. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she looks in the mirror and realizes that somewhere along the way, she started dimming her own light. It doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual, quiet, and almost invisible until you finally see it. You stop setting boundaries because you're afraid of losing people. You start tolerating behavior you once swore you'd never accept. You silence your voice just to keep the peace, and you tell yourself it's maturity. You give more than you receive and call it love. You pour endlessly into others, hoping one day someone will pour back into you with the same devotion. But instead, you're left drained, unseen, and wondering how you lost yourself, trying to prove your worth. That's the painful truth of becoming a low-value woman. It doesn't start with weakness, it starts with overgiving. Being a low-value woman isn't about looks, money, or social status. It's not about designer clothes, career titles, or how many people admire you. It's about energy, how you carry yourself, what you tolerate, and what you believe you deserve. High value is an internal frequency, not a lifestyle. It's quiet confidence, self-awareness, and standards that don't waver when tested. A low-value woman, on the other hand, forgets that. She starts chasing validation instead of embodying self-worth. She confuses attention for affection and approval for love. And in that chase, she forgets that true value doesn't need to be proven, it's felt. The harsh reality is, society has conditioned women to earn their worth through sacrifice. From a young age, we're taught to be accommodating, pleasing, and agreeable, to make everyone else comfortable even when it costs us our peace. We're praised for being understanding, forgiving, and endlessly patient. And while empathy is a strength, when it's misplaced, it becomes a weapon against your own spirit. You start to think that if you're kind enough, loyal enough, and loving enough, people will finally treat you the way you deserve. But what actually happens is the opposite. The more you overextend, the less others value your effort, because people don't respect what's always available. They respect what's selective, self-assured, and grounded in boundaries. You see, becoming a low-value woman doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been giving from an unhealed place. You've been seeking love in places that only take from you because you don't yet realize you're the source. You give and give, hoping someone will finally see your worth, but you forget that people can only value you to the level that you value yourself. So, when your energy starts feeling scattered, when you notice that you're constantly tired, anxious, or unappreciated, it's not the world rejecting you. It's life nudging you to wake up, to remember who you were before you started shrinking to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Low-value behavior is subtle because it often hides behind good intentions. You think you're being loyal, but you're really tolerating disrespect. You think you're being supportive, but you're really enabling someone's complacency. You think you're being kind, but you're really betraying yourself. And over time, that self-betrayal starts to show. It shows in your energy, your posture, your tone, your silence. The light in your eyes dims because your spirit knows it's living beneath its worth. That's when you start attracting situations that mirror your own self-neglect, relationships that drain you, friends who use you, jobs that underpay you. The outer world becomes a reflection of your inner beliefs. But here's the thing. This isn't about shame or judgment. It's about awareness. Every high-value woman has once been low-value. Every confident, grounded woman has walked through a phase of self-abandonment before she learned what real self-love feels like. The journey from low to high value isn't glamorous. It's raw, it's painful, and it requires radical honesty. You have to admit that you've been settling, that you've been betraying your own standards, that you've been mistaking attention for connection. But once you face that truth, everything changes. Because you can't heal what you won't acknowledge. And the moment you decide to stop apologizing for your worth, the world starts treating you differently. It's not that you suddenly become better than others. It's that your energy stops begging. You stop chasing people who make you question your value. You stop over-explaining, over-caring, and over-justifying. You begin to move differently, not with arrogance, but with quiet certainty. You speak slower, think clearer, and choose peace over chaos. You start realizing that the power you were searching for in others was inside you the entire time. And when you reach that point, the word low value no longer feels like an insult. It becomes a lesson you've outgrown. But before you can get there, you have to recognize the warning signs. The truth is, many women are unknowingly slipping into low-value behavior every day because it's disguised as love, loyalty, or ambition. It might look like chasing after emotionally unavailable men, settling for one-sided friendships, tolerating disrespect in silence, or constantly comparing yourself to others online. It might sound like saying, "I'm fine," when you're not, or telling yourself it's not that bad when it really is. These small compromises are the cracks that slowly drain your worth. And the reason this topic matters so deeply is because no one teaches women how to protect their value. We're taught how to love, how to nurture, how to give, but rarely how to preserve our energy, how to demand respect, or how to walk away when something no longer honors us. So we mistake self-abandonment for strength. We confuse suffering for loyalty. We stay in places we've outgrown because we don't want to be labeled selfish. But the truth is, there's nothing selfish about choosing yourself. It's the most self-respecting thing you can do. Because when you raise your standards, you don't just elevate your relationships, you elevate your entire life. You'll know you're slipping into low-value energy when peace feels foreign and chaos feels familiar. When you crave validation more than solitude. When you let people back into your life who've already shown you they can't be trusted. When you start dimming your voice in rooms that were meant to hear it. That's when you have to pause and ask yourself, when did I stop believing I deserved better? Because that's where the healing begins, not by blaming others, but by reclaiming your power from the moments you gave it away. The beauty of this truth is that you can change it at any time. You can wake up tomorrow and decide, I'm done settling for half-hearted love. I'm done tolerating disrespect. I'm done explaining my worth to people who can't see it. You can decide that from this moment forward, you'll only match energy that values your presence. That's what makes this journey powerful. It's not about perfection, it's about awareness. It's about knowing when you've drifted from your power and having the courage to return to it. Because becoming a low-value woman isn't permanent. It's a phase, a lesson, a mirror. It shows you where you've been disconnected from yourself. And once you choose to reconnect, to rebuild your standards, to protect your peace, and to prioritize your growth, you begin to rise again. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself. And that, right there, is the beginning of transformation, the moment when your value is no longer a question, but a fact written in the way you move, speak, and exist in the world. When you start slipping into low-value behavior, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual erosion of self-respect that starts in the smallest, quietest moments. The moments you brush off discomfort, silence your intuition, or pretend you're okay when you're not. You don't wake up one day and decide to be a low-value woman. You just start believing that your needs are inconvenient, your standards are too high, or your emotions are too much. That's how the slow decay begins. But awareness is the first step to reclaiming your worth, and the truth is there are always signs. 7 powerful indicators that you're operating below your true value. The first sign you're becoming a low-value woman is when you tolerate inconsistency because you're afraid to lose someone. You start accepting mixed signals as effort. You rationalize flakiness as, he's just busy. You tell yourself that crumbs are enough because at least it's something. But deep down, you know when someone values you. You feel it in their consistency, their presence, their respect. A low-value woman doesn't demand clarity because she's scared that asking for more will push someone away. But what she doesn't realize is that inconsistency is already a form of rejection. It's just stretched out over time. High-value women don't chase potential. They match energy. When someone's actions don't align with their words, they stop negotiating and start walking. Because love without consistency is emotional manipulation dressed as romance.